So now here's what we're dealing with. We don't really have a process problem here. The processes are probably in place. We have standard work, in this fictional factory that I'm making up, and people are following it, but somebody got hurt. Maybe it was a metal burr. Maybe they were, moving a piece and didn't have their glove on. And maybe there's nothing in the planning that says to have your glove on. I don't know. But something went wrong, and now they have an injury. And now I can do one of two things. I can look at them as the enemy and say, here I had this world class safety system and you've ruined it because maybe you didn't follow instructions, or maybe you didn't follow the standard, or maybe you did and we just didn't create a standard or a system that was strong enough for you to be safe in. Um, but the real question that we need to ask is, what went wrong? What broke? Why did the system allow this to happen? What about our process allowed this to happen? When you came into work and you felt like you didn't need to have your gloves on, and you grabbed a metal burr and it cut your hand, and now you've got 6 stitches, right? Why did you not understand the procedure? And right, the three root causes for problems are: standard does not exist, standard is not followed, or standard is not capable. I walk through this extensively in my book, right? These are the type 0, type 1, type 2 root cause. But these are the questions we need to start to ask. Well, no, I knew the standard was there. So why did you follow the standard? Most of the time I do, but not in this instance. Why? Well, I was under immense pressure, the production pressure, and we're trying to produce this. And I've been told this is very serious to the business. And in those moments, it's absolutely crucial, right? If we say, okay, yeah, that's good, but if we as leaders, and I say this quite a bit, leaders set the thermostat for any business. But if we as leaders are authorizing and saying, yeah, it's okay to bypass the standards under production pressure, that's not good. That is not good. If we bypass a quality system, if we bypass a safety system, that's terrible, right? Our goal is to get to the understanding, figure out where the gap is, and then we can put a corrective action around that and we can fix that gap. So in the future, it's better for everyone. Forget the number, right? I mean, yeah, you're going to get if you're a leader and you have a major safety issue, you're going to get a black eye over that. Somebody's going to be upset over that, and rightly so. But that's not that's done. That's in the past. We're already past that. That's already happened. It's what we do going forward that makes a difference. It's how do we prevent this from happening the next time, right? And this is where we demonstrate respect for people. When I was 18 years old, and I'm approaching 50 now. It's been a long, long time ago, and I worked for a very small machine shop. Not even a name that anyone would recognize. Just a little small machine shop. And we made plastic shifter knobs for automotive. So these are the shifter knobs that screw onto the shifter, and then you drive a manual shift with them. And we were working, and I had this big die press, and it would come down, and it had a drop button with my left hand, and I would remove the buttons with my right hand, and then I would hit with the left hand. I was making killer time. I was blowing way, way, way past the tack time of what was required, and making the business a lot of money. And as I was going through this process, I had my hand waiting to drop the die and was removing the pieces, and my hand bumped the die, and it dropped on my hand, and it took the end of my finger off, and my fingerprint, my fingernail, and it was really hot. It just burnt everything off, and I had to go to the hospital, and it hurt really, really bad, and came back to work, and I started, going back to the press, and my manager was like, "Hey, yeah, come with me." I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure," and I went with him, and they took me into HR, and HR said, "Yeah, we had a really good safety record prior to what happened the other day, and this just doesn't reflect the kind of safety that we want here, and so we're gonna have to let you go." And they fired me, right? And I was 18. I didn't understand anything about labor laws or anything. And so I said, okay. And this is the most bizarre thing. And now here I am, a lot older, and I think about this now. But it's so bizarre. And as I was leaving, they said, but before you leave, will you tell us something? And I said, sure. And they said, what could we do to make the process better and improve it? And I was like, I like, I don't work for you anymore, right? It's there are multitudes of things, and had you asked me, we wouldn't even be here, right? Because we should have had two buttons to drop a press. That way, you're sure that your hands are removed from the press. You can't have one in it while you're dropping the press, right? A second button. But the culture was such, it was a very small, family run shop. The culture was such there wouldn't have been any investment in that anyway, right? Why do I bring this up? Because it's because the way that we react to people when they're the first is really important.